Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. My name is Don Smiker. I'm going to call the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. To my left, I have Mike Steinis.
Good morning.
Right, we have Nen Flegel.
Good morning.
Bjorn from IT, Lisa from the auditor's office, Brittany online press box. So first up, we have visitors and citizens. Is there anybody here or online that would like to address the board not for something not listed on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to, is Marissa on?
She is.
Okay, first up is Marissa Gal from Black Hills Energy to discuss the food pantry donation box location. Marissa, you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
See you too.
Floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you guys for making the time and letting me join this meeting today. I was brought this way by Alyssa, so I appreciate her help on this project. We have been working in the Maquoketa area to put in a donated little free pantry from Black Hills Energy. We are doing 8 of these across the state, and we thought it would be a great partnership. And from that, we were guided towards the HACAP building, which I believe is a county-owned building. So coming before you today to see if we can get that placed in the ground to help better serve those facing food insecurity in the region. Like I mentioned, this is donated and built by Black Hills Energy. We are also responsible for any of those maintenance issues. So if something falls over, if a door needs replaced, if the post is leaning, that is something that we can come out and our techs can help take care of. While we also hope that this becomes a community impact project that people can take the food that they need or leave the food that they can to help support those in need. The goal is this is that it's a 24/7 resource for those people who need assistance. And I'm happy to answer any questions that come up or clarifying details.
Just out of curiosity, one of our questions was how you came up with the HACAP building location, just because although it does serve some of the needs of the people that have certain concerns, it's not exactly in a well-traveled area. I mean, kind of out of the normal flow of people around town. So that was one of our questions.
Yeah, great question. Oh, go ahead.
In the area also, so.
I know the building next to it was Senior Center and RTA. They've had problems where like people have been sleeping behind the building and things like that. And we didn't know if something like this would kind of cause a rise in that kind of problems.
Yeah, those are great questions. I had been working with Sarah over at the Maquoketa Community Cupboard, and we initially reached out to them for that partnership to have a 24/7 on-site food resource. And they pointed towards HACUP as it is a part of town that is a bit of a food desert. So while they have the Maquoketa Cupboard on this side of town, the HACUP or people over there might not have a resource nearby and might not be able to potentially get over to that part of town. In terms of an increase in potential unhoused people using that, the goal is that they have access to food. So hopefully it's a resource that they could use. But open to other options. We just want to make sure that people across the area have access to food, and we seem to have that covered over by the Maquoketa Community Cupboard.
Marissa, do you normally use a county-owned or government-owned location, or do you use private areas like in a centralized location, more like, I mean, we have a Goodwill that's like centralized location in the middle of town, and it's got a very large parking lot, and it seems like a better location or something like that. You know, I'm not saying that one for.
That's a great question. This is a pilot project. So far, in the majority of our other communities, we are working with nonprofits or organizations that are helping those who need assistance. So we've done over in Denison, Iowa, Crossroads of Crawford County, which helps expectant mothers, and they do diaper and formula drives. So that was a good partnership with them. We are working with thrift stores, community buildings, local libraries. There is nothing that says we can't use privately owned. It's partly the process in place, right? The powers that be that help us get that done and approve these things, but there's nothing that would stop us.
I mean, I would tend to agree with you as far as side of town not having access really to food. That would be the side, you know, the town that it. and maybe kind of the demographics of that edge of town, but yeah, I still have a little bit of the concern on if it would cause any increase in,
Well, with the fairgrounds and that being right there, it's
Right.
kind of, when things aren't there, it's kind of a, I want to say a desolate area, but especially at night, it's kind of a dark, somewhat deserted
Mhm.
area, so to speak. So I don't, we'd have to look at illumination and see if it's lit, all that stuff. So you guys, if we could find maybe a better location, you'd be open to that, or are you guys kind of stuck on the haycap?
No, I have been relying on local knowledge. So this was brought to me, and I know HACAP seemed excited by it and obviously wanted approval from the county as it is a county-owned building. But you guys know your community best. So if you have other alternative ideas, I am absolutely open to that and exploring those options.
Okay. We'll do a little checking. I think we can come up with something.
Yeah. we'll look into
Yeah.
it more.
Fantastic. Yeah. If you need my contact information, let me know. Like I said, Elisa has that, but I can send a note as well.
I think we'll reach out to you hopefully within the next week or two and figure something.
Fantastic. All
All
right.
right.
Any other questions I can answer?
Good.
Funding, I guess, question,
Mhm.
you said that you're gonna cover the funding in that. Do you guys also have a base amount that you put in for funding for food wise?
Yeah, good question. We are planning to do ribbon cuttings and dedications for all of our little free pantries. We've already done a few. And so during that, we will do a small ribbon cutting with the partner organization and then bring donated food to stock it for the first time, as well as have a couple of food drives from our local offices to help keep it stocked. But this is a similar model to the little free library. So if someone's driving by, say, hey, I have food I'd like to donate, they can leave it in there. It could be food, hygiene products, diapers, formula, things like that. So we obviously want to continue to support it throughout the year, but hopefully people rally behind it as well.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah.
did somebody at HACAP volunteer to do that, or how would that go if you guys had to put some stuff in it, or who monitors that?
So, hey, Cap, if it's on property, obviously they would monitor it and see if, hey, we're running a little bit low. I will say at our one that we opened in Denison at the end of March, it has been full every day. People have taken it and restocked it, and it hasn't come from our team directly, but local staff, things like that. So we're excited to see that communities are embracing it and using it.
Okay. Any other questions for Marissa?
No.
Thank you very much. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Introductions here.
What's that?
Do we want introductions here?
I think if we, Lisa, talk to them a little bit, if they speak, they'll introduce themselves as we get. Next up, we have discussion on Jackson Estate subdivision. Dwayne Van Hemmer. You have the floor. You want to come up?
Sure. I also appreciate the ability to sit down while I talk.
More than welcome.
I've been known to fall over standing up.
Well, if you're running that low oxygen, feel free to stop, take a breath, get.
Morning.
Morning. Well, my name's Dwayne Van Hemer. None of you know me, but I've lived in Jackson County for about 5 years, maybe a little more.
Good, well,
So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself. Wife and I moved up here during COVID. We lived in Des Moines for 50 years. She's from Dubuque. She's a bright buck girl. And she said, honey, I want to go back home when we retire. So that's what we did. So we lived out east of St. Denis on a farm owned by Tim Sieverding for a while, and then bought the Hockman home with Sunrise Court. So I live at 109 Sunrise. But I spent the last 50 years as a builder. I've taught school for 5 years. I've built homes. I've built airplane hangars. I built the Ankeny Airport. I've done a lot of different things. Dog houses too. I don't know.
Were you in the doghouse or
You know, I've been there
something?
too. So after 50 years, after 50 some years, you're gonna figure out you've been there too.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly right.
But the last 25 years, I built schools. I managed school construction for both Des Moines schools, and city schools, managed close to $1 billion worth of work over those 25 years. I was the facilities director, so I supervised maintenance, construction, design, planning of site developments, all kinds of things. So that's kind of my thing, okay?
Mhm.
So my notes today, after I hand those to you, you're gonna see a builder flare probably, because I look at things through a builder's eye, I guess. But, and became aware of the Jackson family, planning. And I would like to start by saying that this is not about anti-Jackson family at all. I got to know Delbert before he passed. He was a nice gentleman. I think what Delbert did for the city of Bellevue and the playground area there has made our neighborhood better. So I really want to state that up front. The other thing I want to say is that the other person that's been involved in this lot is Triplin Dryman, who's on a plane this morning from Texas to Iowa, and couldn't be here, but wanted to let you know he's here in spirit, so. And Dryman's a displaced builder from Texas. He married a Bellevue girl. He met her on the job, I guess. He was up here working. The rest is history, as I said. But anyway, so I've gotten to know Trip. The best part of all this is I've gotten to know my neighbors. It's been really cool. It's been, I know, Bellevue and Jackson County is a tight-knit community, but it's been fun getting to know my neighbors. We did have a neighborhood meeting. Once we had I guess it was after the supervisors meeting, because the reaction to that was frankly not very favorable by the neighbors. The neighbors in the area, and I've heard from all of them, a lot of them are here today. I don't think any of them are truly opposed to anybody's right to develop their property, okay? That's not what this is about. What this is about is the negative or adverse impact that development is gonna have on our neighborhood, okay? And there's some real areas that have been discussed at the commission meeting, that have been discussed at your previous supervisors meeting. I've watched both the minutes. I watched both videos. I attended the commission meeting. And so I think a lot of these comments, and these are no really prioritized order. They're just comments and thoughts from a lot of people, okay? And we had a pretty good meeting. A lot of people voiced their concerns, I think, and they're different concerns. You've got concerns about water, which is a huge issue. You've got concerns about fences, which the commission talked at length about. In Iowa law and fence law and all that, I'm familiar with all that. So the list I just gave you, it's too lengthy to sit here and read and waste your time and mine and theirs. But I thought maybe I could summarize it real quick and just go through it and say, hey, and when you get time, I also have a lot of supporting documents that I'll forward to you, and some videos and some pictures that support a lot of these comments. I think as part of the opening, I just talked to you about the neighbors a little bit. There was one comment that was made that I do think was inappropriate at the commission meeting, and I did put that in the notes. And I thought I'd share that with you. I was just set back when I heard the commission chair say, hey, you guys live by the river, you should be used to more water. And I thought, what a totally inappropriate comment. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I say it was inappropriate. I think that the gentleman should apologize for that comment. Because water is a problem, okay? And a lot of it's caused by the outlet that's on the far south side of this development. It's included in the plat that you approved. And that outlet takes water all the way up to Severding Ridge. It comes even from the Mickle property that we're gonna talk about, all the way up through Severding Ridge and down through other properties and down into an outlet that's behind the homes where Rose and I live, where Dan lives. And there's a lot of water there, and it runs all the time. And it's a creek. I refer to it as the Severding Ridge Creek. And it's okay. It's there. You know what? I even enjoy that creek out there sometimes. It's kind of pretty. The kids play in it, they have a good time. It's not a problem. And we don't have a problem with the kids in our backyard. It's kind of fun having other people's grandkids out there, okay, besides ours. But when you add this development on top of it, and you take, and I've studied the plans, when you take that development and you add all that water, even though it's collected and put through a tube, It's gonna come out of a 24-inch tube, and it's gonna go into a little retention area that was a result of a pond that Delbert filled in years ago, I understand, because he didn't want his grandkids drowning in the pool. And they live right down on Jackson Park Square. I think it's his great grandkids, to be honest. They filled that pond in and created just a small retention area. You've seen pictures of it. It was in your staff report from the commission. And it will be overwhelmed by the water coming out of that retention pond. All that on top of the water we already have. And in the 1st of April, when we had 7 inches at my house in 3 days or 4 days, that water damn near went over a little dike that's there. It filled the 12-inch tube that ran 24/7 for days on end. And it added water. So now we're gonna add all the water from this development on top of it. Well, that water's gotta go someplace, okay? I agree. But a lot of the developments I participated in, the developers were required to put that water in a tube and run it to an appropriate location. And I don't think it's inappropriate to ask or for you to demand when you see the final plat and the final plan, that water be dealt with all the way down to that big culvert that goes underneath the railroad tracks, okay? Because it's gonna flood our backyard. Steve Hockman next to me over the years had to build a berm in his backyard because every time that creek flowed, it threatened his basement. I'm not so sure he didn't get water in his basement at one time. So, and I know because I know he's gone, he's in a nursing home and as is Roxy, but I mow that yard every week. And I can tell you that berm was there because I've skinned the top of it more than once with my mower, okay? So it's there. When you get past Steve's house and on down where Randy used to live and Mike, that becomes a swamp and it's wet all the time. So that water doesn't go away. It's consistent. And I don't know where they came from, but on 2 different occasions, I've actually picked up clamshells along that creek. So they were either in the pond or it was an ancient river back there or something was there. There was a lot of water there at one time. We're concerned about that. The outlot, as I say, I was not convinced after looking at the plans that water is being dealt with. The other part of this is what I'm calling outlot X, which is the bottom page, part of the first page. And I'm calling the outlot behind our homes, between Rose and myself, for lack of a better place to describe it, is an outlot that is owned by the Jackson family, okay? But it's inside the city limits. They stopped short in their development plan, their preliminary plans. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because these are things that we need to look at, and you need to look at before you approve any final plan. Because it's all that's gonna, as I said, adversely affect the neighbors. That outlot X, the water, it's protected by a small dam or a dike. There's a 12-inch tube, as I said, that feeds into that. It's been totally neglected over the years. I've heard anecdotal stories about how they wanted to donate it to the city didn't want it. I think the city needs to reevaluate that outlot. I think it would be a beautiful little park. There's some beautiful walnut trees back there. They're in a perfect straight line. And the bird didn't drop those seeds that way. It was planted that way. It looks great. I love looking at them. And it needs to be protected. So outlot X is gonna take the brunt of all this water coming off the development onto outlet A, which is not where the water is not detained. If you look at the plans, you got a drawing from the engineer, from their engineer, Eric Todd, and it shows a water easement there, and it does exist, and the easement exists behind my house. But it doesn't mean you can flood it on a consistent basis, and so the water is not being contained or detained properly. It's going to be released onto outlet X. It's going to do damage to our water and our properties. And one of the comment about the outlet A and the water that's going on the X, Dick Hines just spent 20,000 plus fixing the bank behind his house, because over the years the erosion did a number on it. And as I understand it, he got permission from the Jackson family to go across their property and fix that bank. Okay. I don't wanna see that happen again. I'm sure Nick doesn't wanna see that happen again, but if you don't do something about all the water coming down through there, it may happen again. I think Outlet X backs up to 16 residential properties, okay? We feel like we're also residents of Jackson County, but we feel like we haven't been heard. We feel like if this development's gonna be done, it needs to be done right. And that somehow that water needs to go through a tube and not over our property. Now, there can be a tube, there can be an overflow ditch, there can be all kinds of things that you can do back there. I made mention at the supervisor, the commission meeting about that water, and Eric referred to it during the meeting, and after the meeting, we talked about it. He said, well, we plan on taking that dike out and taking that 12-inch tube out that's there protecting us now, and just dumping the water onto that outlet. Well, my point is that gonna help? Maybe, I don't know. I haven't been convinced. But just to release all that water on us and take away the controls that are already there doesn't seem appropriate. It seems like this is the wrong thing to do. I had one more note about that.
So just so I
Yeah.
get this right and understand it, this subdivision isn't adding any new water to come down to
Well-
the Jackson. It's just more how it comes down. It's
I-
collected in storms, drains, and then drained into a series of, wasn't it, 2 or
Yeah.
3 retention?
There's 6 ponds.
Six.
6 ponds.
Yeah, there's like
6 or
ponds.
7.
Some of them are smaller than others, okay,
Yeah.
some are just ditches. But it all flows into a bigger pond, which I can talk about in just a second. But in theory, you might be right, but you are gonna add hard surface, you are gonna add rooftops, you are gonna add runoff. And it's gonna be more concentrated. Now, a lot of it runs into the ground. There's a sinkhole in that creek behind my house, a lot of the water goes right down into the ground.
Mhm.
I worry about kids stepping in that sinkhole, but it's there, I can show you where it's at. So, you're right, in theory, it's the same water,
Mhm.
but in their development, has water coming across the Jackson County or Jackson Family Farm that they own in the county and in the city, and they haven't addressed that water that comes across that Outlaw A or Outlaw X, which they own both. One's in the county, one's in the city. The plan doesn't address it. It needs to, okay? In
So
the short,
was there, Dwayne, was there, I assume, I mean, there's a couple different engineers, and I know it's been changed several times, so obviously there's been hydraulic studies done of what amount
Yeah.
of water comes down there in a specific range or whatever it may be. So if there's a sinkhole in this creek, or that you're calling it a creek, I don't know, is it a creek?
It's
Is
a
it
creek.
name to it?
it runs water
I
every
know what it
day.
is. I know where it's at. But the point is, that's in the city, so that should have been addressed with the subdivision where you live.
You're correct. And one of my.
You know, where you live now, that should have been addressed.
One of our recommendations that the city review this again, because the city, I think it was a pretty informal process where they said, yeah, there's a plat there. Within so many, it's adjacent to the city, and they had a legal description. I think, is it Origin or Origin Design looked at a plan years ago, back 3-4 years ago. That plan showed lots, showed residential lots on the outlot. The plan that Jackson put together does not, so it's totally different from what that original study was. I think that the water retention calculations are inaccurate and they're lacking.
So the hydraulic studies were done with a city engineer also, and also a private engineer, correct? These studies were all done twice
I believe so.
and went back to the city several times with changes that I understand? And they made significant changes too?
I don't think the city made any changes to it. I think the city did a cursory review. And I don't know if their city engineer actually looked at them or gave any kind of an opinion to the city council. I'm not aware of that. I'm gonna go back and do my homework. I'm just getting into this,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna get into it.
Well, I just want to address the fast track comment you made at the beginning, is the fact that with Becca, with the zoning, they've been dealing with this since last September.
Yeah.
And they've been having meetings and working things out and doing all this stuff. And then once they make a recommendation, it comes to us. When I ain't gonna say you can call it fast tracked when the zoning, they make a recommendation. We have the backing of 2 reviews of 2 engineers and all that kind of stuff. It seems it's gone through the muster, so I think fast tracking is a misstatement, so to
Well,
speak.
fast track would be the approval process because we got a postcard or a letter
Yeah,
that said, hey, there's a meeting. So we went to the meeting. They didn't really listen to us. They didn't listen to the neighbors that are here about the water in their backyards and their basements. And those people that live on Jackson Park Drive, they totally disregarded it. I just told you what your chairman said, and it was inappropriate. And then 8 days later, you guys are on top of it. And the day before your meeting, we had our neighborhood meeting. So by fast track, I mean the approval process at the county level. I haven't figured out exactly what happened at the city. We did talk to the city clerk. She came to our meeting. And she said herself that all she did was, they put a stamp of approval on a plat. Everybody has a right to develop their property.
Teresa, are you still on? Teresa?
So the comment that was made.
Yeah,
And you
and I agree, that comment about,
there was no really true city formal.
Yes, Don, I am on, and the mayor and a council member.
can you guys kind of talk to a little bit about what the city's involvement in this was?
Well, we've been working with the Jacksons probably at least a year or more. And yes, Origin did originally, we were looking at partnering with the Jacksons. That was the first request. And so, yes, Origin did put together a design on it and retention ponds, etc. When the city decided that no, we were not going to do this, the Jacksons decided to go back and talk to the county and do a county subdivision, and it would not be annexed into the city. Once the Jacksons came forward and Eric Tott from WHKS presented the plat, the city actually employed the services of our city engineer, Origin Design, and that would have been probably in November. And so they went back and forth with Eric Tott, the engineer, and on how to get the retention and make sure the requirements were correct for what was going to be needed. And since that time, that when the city engineer gave us the approval that it meets all the requirements for water retention, that's when the city approved the 2 mile. And we did have, I mean, we being the city and the residents, I mean, the residents in those subdivision, we understand they pay taxes and we wanted them protected. The city paid about $4,000 in engineering fees, and we'll have another one because we had them go back through and address what the new concern is with the property, the filled-in pond that is in the corner. In fact, our city engineer met with the county engineer, Jaden Shekel, on that concern on that area. And right now, the county attorney is working to put together an easement, which I think it's called a watershed easement, which will help to, because those retention ponds are only as good if you keep them maintained. And so it's looking at a perpetual maintenance agreement for those in an easement for those ponds. So the concerns and the people are being heard. Things are being done. And no, we don't want to flood those residents out. So yes, the city has done and will continue to work with the county on making sure that this is done properly, because neither one of us want a problem.
And I appreciate all that. And I think part of this is to make you aware
Yeah.
that the current preliminary plans are totally inadequate in that regard.
Well, I would like to, like I say, I don't want to, we can talk about this for an hour and a half. I want to take this list and talk to Jaden Sheck a little bit more
Yeah.
about it. I will say, just on a personal experience from where I live in town and another subdivision that in town, it is not unheard of to collect water and then put it through storm sewer and then run it out through an easement ditch I have a berm behind my house where when we bought it, they're like, well, it's gotta be a hard rain to really get any water in it, and it drains like 300 acres of Macokota into that ditch behind it. So you sneeze anywhere from Angus Court to Swagosa, the
Yeah.
country club, I get water in my ditch.
It's,
The new subdivision going up on Western, it collects it all in the street storm sewers and it runs it into a retention pond. And then from there it flows down into a basin that gets collected back into the city. So this is not uncommon. You just want to make sure it's adequate. I don't have the expertise to know about that stuff. I'm a chiropractor. I'm not an engineer, so I don't pretend to be one, but I'd like to make sure we find out the information. But a lot of these things have been
I know they've been talked about, but I don't think they've been addressed. And there are other concerns that I'd like to point out
well,
besides that water.
okay,
And one of them's the location of the pond itself. That pond is gonna be right behind 6 or 7 residential lots on Jackson Park Drive. And that pond will hold more water than the swimming pool in Bellevue. That's how much water it could hold when it's full,
yeah,
okay? And it's gonna be adjacent to a lot that's already owned by private resident, private person, and the Jackson family. There's 2 lots there. And that pond is gonna be 150 by 200 and some feet in its biggest dimensions. And the backside of that pond is 20 feet deep, or 20-foot bank with like 6 foot on the low end, which is good. But are you gonna protect it? Are they gonna protect it from the neighborhood kids? Are they gonna maintain it? The Jacksons don't have a great history of maintaining that outlot behind my house. It's bad. I mean, the weeds, not just weeds, everything are bad.
well,
Even though it's in the city, not the county, I get all that. But still, there are things pointed out by the neighbors on this list that we need to, and Jaden Sheckle's a fine young engineer. I've gotten to know him. And I was a little set back that the commission and the county totally rejected his recommendation of the 12% grade, because those grades out there are gonna be horrendous. And I've heard conversation from you and others. Well, the fire trucks can go up Mickle's farm, up the Mickle Hill. They should be able to go up this hill. Well, at the top of the Mickle Hill is a nice flat landing. There's no flat landing at the top of these roads. It goes uphill and downhill, and that's it. And so there's a lot of considerations that haven't been taken into account, a lot of design issues that need to be addressed. And you may not be experienced with it, but I am. And I'm thinking that this is a deficient design. I understand it's preliminary. It needs to be improved. We're trying to help improve. And the only setback, one more comment from the neighbor,
mhm,
full setback that, in most developments, at least where I'm from, the developers have to stop and have a neighborhood meeting, visit with the neighbors before they go down the road of the process and say, hey, we know you may not be happy, but what is it that you're concerned about that we should listen to? They did none of that. You did none of that. The commission did none of that, other than anecdotal information and conversations that you may have had with other people. There was no formal neighborhood meeting to discuss the impact of that project. Those sites are unbuildable, a lot of them have 30% grade. I checked them. I did the math, okay? I don't know how you're gonna build a house on a 30% grade, let alone put in a septic system or a sand filter or some other type of system, a dome system. There are all kinds of ways you can do it. But there's gonna be some real issues with that as well. The fencing is an issue. The commission talked about it at length and about how there should be a homeowners association. The covenants need to address a homeowners association. They do not. The only thing the covenants talk about is having a $5,000 fee that goes towards road maintenance. There's gonna be close to a mile of gravel road out there, and $75,000 is not gonna take care of those roads, okay? There needs to be better agreements in place. The covenants need to be tighter. we've made recommendations on those covenants.
Good.
There's just a lot of things there. I had people say, well, what about the adjacent properties? Can we take those roadways and extend them onto our properties? Well, I know it's gonna be a private development, I know it's private roads, and that would be between the developer and the landowners. But there needs to be conversations there as well, because there are neighbors concerned. And the cattle, the livestock, and how they take care of those fences, it's all an issue. It hasn't been addressed adequately. I think we need to wake up. We need to slow this freight train down. Say, I know they got a year to get your plans, but they need to stop. They need to talk to the neighbors. They need to have the discussion and listen to us. Do what they can to make it better. Put a fence around that retention pond. It's not in the plan. How are you gonna keep kids from falling into that pond when it's full? And I guarantee you it's gonna fill up. Because they're not gonna let water out of there fast enough. And it's gonna be a hazard. It's an attractive nuisance is what I call it. Kids love to play in water. I did, my neighbors do. I hear my neighbors scream at their kids all the time to get out of the water. And it's not that much water. It just needs to be done in the right way. I think the neighbors, if they knew it was done in the right way, in the right manner, with neighborhood input, you wouldn't have as many upset people. But I think the further we go down this road, the more angry people are gonna get. You need to listen.
I will pass this list on to Jade and we'll talk about it and get his 2 cents in on it. We'll work with the commission and Becca as we get ready to proceed to final plans and stuff. There'll be more meetings, there'll be communications. And I asked, and as much as I appreciate that you guys got a postcard and that you said that's the first you heard of it. I personally kind of doubt, I hope not, because with the papers and gossip and the coffee,
Nope, first time I've heard of it.
there had to be ways people hear about it. But I'm not surprised because when we did Platt Street,
So I
people
will,
didn't know we were doing it.
I will tell you this, I did bring the paper about the city considering participating in that development. That was the first I caught. I read the minutes. I read the minutes in the paper.
Mhm.
Okay? And I thought, wow, I'm totally opposed to using taxpayer money to get involved in a risky development because a realtor wants you to do it. They had no business doing that. They had no business doing Jackson Park Square, if you ask me. If it was urban renewal or some really need that the community had, fine. But using taxpayer money, you can give tax abatements, you can do TIF finance, you can do all kinds of things. So that's when I first heard about it. And then the city, I heard through the grapevine, they're not gonna do it, but there was never any formal publications, formal hearings, formal actions that I'm aware of that the city took based on the minutes that I read in the Bellevue Herald, okay? I'm gonna start going to meetings. I may come to a few of your meetings, just because I'm concerned. I've been involved in this stuff. I think it could have been done better. They could have stopped. They could have talked to the neighbors. They didn't do it. I told Steve Nimmers that. I told Roger Jackson that. I told Eric Todd that after the meeting. They should be embarrassed by the way they handled this development. It was not done in the right way. So having said all that, I don't want to get angry, but there's a lot of emotion pent up out there. There's a lot of neighbors, 20 of us at least, that are saying, hey, we live in the county too. We pay taxes too. And we're not being treated in the right way. This development needs to develop in the right way and take care of the water in the right way. And the water on Outlaw A was not addressed in this plan. It may have addressed in other plans, but not this one. You look at the contours, you look at the grade, that drops 250 feet from one end to the other. That water's gonna come down there in a hell of a hurry. And if they ever pave those roads, it's gonna be worse. I would love to sit down with Jaden and be part of a meeting, and it can be just 2 or 3 of us, so he can listen to us.
Mhm.
I think he's a pretty reasonable guy. He was my neighbor. I've gotten to know him. I think you made a good choice. I think it's too bad you didn't listen to him, or at least consider what he had to tell you, just because a private development done in the past had that steeper road. It's an issue that's not gonna go away, even though you approved the preliminary plat. you got a long way to go to get a final plat approved, and I think you're gonna hear from a lot of people.
We will pass this on and we'll work on some of these issues with zoning. We'll see what we come up with in the future.
Would anyone else like to speak? Don't
Yeah,
mind,
that's
or-
what, yes, sir.
Go ahead, Dan.
I would just have.
Dan, if you want to state your name.
Dan Gilbert, 117 Sunrise Court, Bellevue. I just have a request, or the whole board. The lot that's still in the city limits in front of Nick Heim property is currently where there's a pond and part of the retention ditch. None of the documents state what the intention is with that piece of land. I would request that their intentions and what their design is be included in the documentation so we can see what their plans are and that it can be taken care of. All the water will go through that lot. It currently is a semi pond. And I don't know what the intentions are with it. So
Dan, can you tell me whose lot that is again?
it's the Jackson family slot.
No,
Nick Heim.
Nick,
Oh, in front, yes, it'd be north,
It'd be just north.
just north of Nick Heim.
You just did a lot of work to that down below there. Where the old
Yes.
detention pond was last year, yeah.
Yeah, Nick did. On his land, on his land.
Yeah,
He spent over $20,000 fixing that thing.
well, he did the bank so he could mow it.
Well, it was eroding too, if you saw it, there was a retaining wall that was collapsing back there.
So
Big day.
part of all this development is that lot. I would just like that, or intentions and documentation included if it's possible.
Okay.
That is the city limits, but so we can see what happens.
And to tag on to what Dan's saying, that's what I refer to as outline acts in my notes, okay?
Anybody else like to address the board? Well, we'll pass this on to Jade and we'll go from there. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
the information.
Next up, we got Andrew Long with the jail administrator for departmental update.
Have a good day.
Thanks for hearing us.
Yeah.
You bet.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
Good morning.
I'm going video.
Morning, everybody.
All right.
Lisa something up.
Was it in the packet, Lisa, or was
Yes,
it
it was.
separate?
No, it was in the packet. Would you like my copy of it?
Oh.
It was,
Under update, April 26 update is what it is.
Did I get it to you right about? Okay, sounds good. All right.
and see, that's why I put it in their.
I got
packet.
Okay,
Yep,
I just, my tech skills are.
it's, no, it's all good.
Improve it.
Yeah.
Improve
We're all
it?
working on it. Yep.
Oh, no, but AI's gonna help me, I'm just saying. Last night, GPT get sued now, so.
oh jeez. So. Currently, as of Friday, we're sitting at 37 inmates. That's down slightly right now. We had a few Scott County ones that got released. But our female pod's keeping fairly full, which is a good thing. Obviously, if we're gonna tie up a pod, we want it to be fairly full. We were sitting at 11 inmates of our own, 9 were males, 2 were females. And then for Scott County, we had 26 inmates, 20 were males, 6 were females. Part of just again, as we look at when numbers are low on our end on females, the idea of do we ship these females out? As of recent, we've kind of been against that idea simply because, an example would be right now we have a female that is, not always the most pleasant to interact with. No jails want to hold on to her for us. So kind of just reinforcement as to why we do want to hold females whenever possible. It is sometimes burdensome with staff having to have a female, but we run into the fact too, if a female's arrested, we need to have a female. So we're doing what we can to watch overtime in that regard, you know, as far as trying to cover the females. We do have a young lady that had her MMPI, the psychological testing here last week. Any day now we're anticipating results on that. So hopefully we can get her started and that'll help kind of resolve a little of this female overtime as well. Our high day in April, we were sitting at 42 inmates, and an average in April, we were at 39.23. As we go back always on that 40 being kind of the considered full point, 39.23, we were pretty well sitting there. In terms of revenue, this was our high month, as of yet with revenue at $50,985 from Scott County. So, that was our high now, so happy to see that. Running total for this fiscal year, $415,695. And the running total for the facility itself is $576,405. No housing out this month. Bookings, we had 42, which is kind of around the average. 54,290 documented checks of inmates. Our observation logs were up significantly, without having the previous number right in front of me, probably 3,000 more than the last month. And that was due to having some more difficult inmates that were on longer term suicide watch or were on a different reason for documentation. So good that our staff is at least generating those notes on inmates and taking the initiative to do that. Basically 30% or more increase is it's a good thing that they're making those notes.
That's because, yeah, the inmates were fighting each other and stuff like that, that you had to intervene and
Yeah.
sort that out, separate them and keep a closer eye on them, so.
3,129 meals were prepared and served this last month. Again, higher simply just because of the higher numbers. So one thing that's kind of important to know in looking at our statistics and going back through and reviewing housing costs out through July of 91, we've actually exceeded that in revenue in the year and a half we've been open. So what we've spent housing out from July 91 to present is less than the revenue we've brought in since we moved over there. So kind of a good feeling knowing it's paying off further than when I was born. So, you know, we're
It's exciting and
Yeah,
knowing that
yeah.
it's worked, the process is working and.
absolutely. And, you know, it's good to be able to generate the revenue. It's also, you know, good to be able to help out other counties like we relied on for so long. So, kind of a statistic we're proud of there and happy with. Last week was National Correctional Officer Week. I think it's on our Facebook pages. All you guys had shared that. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate the public show of support there. Correctional officers work hard every day and we appreciate them for that, as I know you guys do.
Well, you guys unfortunately are not really out in the public to be noticed or anything. You're just, you know.
The people that notice you are not.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to talk highly, so to speak. So, no, it's appreciate everything you do. My one question I have for you is, okay, we're coming up on, yeah, I would say August would be like the end of warranty and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, how are things going? Are things actually working? Are things breaking? Are things flowing pretty good? Any
The
quirks?
one's getting worked out.
Yeah, you know.
They are. Yeah, we're seeing less and less issues. But can't thank Jeff and Bob enough when there is an issue. They are very responsive to it. I mean, they are on top of it. Those guys are over there a lot, just making sure everything stays working well for us. So, like I said, we can't thank those guys enough for all that they do to keep this place running. We see a few issues here and there that are very minor, that not so much warranty issues, but as seasons change, temperatures change, you know, the doors start to close a little different, that sort of thing. So I watched Jeff and Bob do it here the other day. It was a well-oiled machine. They're like, one's holding this, one's holding that, and they're just handing it to each other and have it done in no time. So yeah, like I said, we don't have a whole lot of issues that we're noticing right now, and that's a good thing.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, first we're having some water issues. Some was hot, one was cold, and one was supposed to be hot, and one was supposed to be cold.
Too much water pressure, not enough water pressure, and
But some valves and yeah, I don't know if it's minor stuff and the squeaky floor.
Squeaking a little bit again, but not as bad as it was, but we're noticing a little more, especially as you walk over to the special status cell on the west side. We're getting some squeaking there, but
Maybe let's reach out again and see.
if something can be done. The epoxy in the showers in the two Gen Pop A and D pods is starting to come off again, and I know Jeff has been working on that too, so trying to get that corrected. So we're seeing where that's kind of starting to come off a little bit, but they are taking care of that. So
Some of the moldings on the corners around doors, hallways and stuff are coming loose because they should have been cut and glued on. They just got wrapped and now they're peeling off because it's too sharp of a corner.
I noticed that in the booking area, that's when where it was original.
Right, we kind of question that.
Yeah, that's frustrating, but you know, and Jeff knows that. I mean, he pointed it out right away, but apparently we're gonna probably fix it. So I don't know. I'd have to ask Jeff if he's got a plan to bark up that tree or not. A couple weeks ago, we told, and I realize you're probably running behind, but a couple weeks ago, we told Andrew absolutely no more overtime in the jail if we can all help it. That weekend, that was like a Friday, that weekend we had 38 hours of overtime because we couldn't help it. We have incorporated Kim and Karen into the jail more since then because we needed females. Our female jailers were nice enough to change their shifts and work the night shifts so that we could utilize Kim and Karen during the day. So we've been doing, what Andrew's not telling you is we've been doing a lot of swapping around to try to make it work. That does cause us a little bit of overtime in the administrative side, but we're fine with that. Not that we're fine with it, but I mean, it's better there than in the jail, so incorporating that into it, so. A couple of Scott County inmates were fighting and one or two of them got sent back because they weren't conforming and working out well in the pod, so we're like, you get to go home. So, but yeah, I've kept it pretty full. What, largest income month so far?
Yep, largest so far.
50,000 or something.
No, that's good. We appreciate it. It's going good. As far as the overtime and stuff, are you fully staffed now, full-time, right?
Full-time we are.
Part-time, I know you're probably, you're advertising. Yeah, you can only take what you can get as far as applicants, but.
Right.
And I don't know how many females are.
Yeah, we have, like, so we have the one in the hiring process right now. Yeah, in terms of what we are allotted for staffing, we are full for full-time employees. PRN, we have 3 openings currently. Like I said, the one gal is hopefully getting towards the end of the process for hiring. Part of our biggest problem with that hiring is, in terms of speediness, is that MMPI, that psychological evaluation. There's not a ton of people that do it. And so a lot of times we face an issue of, it could be weeks out. The longest I think I've seen was 8 weeks before they could get an appointment.
It's crazy.
And I've had ones that gotten in the next day. It's totally
You're at
dependent.
their mercy though.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's our biggest struggle. And with PRN hiring too, of course, if they have other jobs, they might be a little more limited on when they can take that appointment. So we're doing what we can to get some females hired to hopefully kind of alleviate both the overtime issue as well as the relief for our full-time female staff. We really can't thank them enough for as much as they're willing to kind of bounce around and work with each other to make it happen. So
Yeah, we need females very badly. We even thought about, all right, do we just ship our females out to Scott County and let them, because they've got females, they can just put 2 more in with their pod or whatever, and we'll take 10 or 12 males because they are always overflowing with males. So we thought about doing that, but anytime a female comes in, then we gotta have a female anyway, and then they gotta go to be seen in court the next day, which we never know what time that's going to be. So do we run them down to Scott County and then run after them the next day and bring them back again? At the end of the day, it's like with the gas and the miles and the people on the road, are you gaining or is that just a waste of time?
Right.
So that's the balance we're trying to figure out.
and just on the note of, we don't always know when court's going to be. To explain to you guys a little bit on that, we only have one magistrate for Jackson County, and she's on call 24/7, 365. She's a practicing attorney. Magistrates aren't paid a huge amount by any means. It's more of a service to the community. It's a step to becoming a district court judge. There's a variety of reasons, insurance, why people do the magistrate thing, but that's a lot of responsibility. So she is also a practicing attorney, so she has things she's got to do in other counties. She handled all driving bars for Scott County as public defender, and there's a lot of BART drivers in Scott County, as well as quite a caseload in Clinton County. So she has to fit us in where she can. At that same note, she is very helpful for us. If we need to get a hold of her, if we need to get something done, she's phenomenal to work with. So the idea of not always knowing when court's going to be, that's kind of the reason behind that. It's not irresponsive, on her end. It's
No,
just
not at
simple.
all.
She's got a lot.
She's got a lot of balls in the air, and the state's trying to regionalize magistrates, just like they did with mental health and stuff, so they're trying to reduce the number of magistrates. And we're like, are you kidding me? Because ours is jumping through hoops just to make it work for us here. So I don't know how that's gonna work out, but probably not good. But anyway, there's too much regionalization going on, and then the smaller counties just get pushed to the back corner, and then we get what's left over. So we'll get to you when we get to you, kind of thing. So. The thing I want to say is, at a recent Republican meeting, I want to apologize to Nan. I was expressing some of my frustrations over my budget, how much lower it was than some comparable counties, and that I have to ask for an amendment coming up. Because we haven't been reimbursed for the revenue that we've been creating, we haven't been reimbursed for the operating costs, so man, my word, so I may not make it to the spring dinner, so I wanted to publicly apologize to Nan for that. So, and by association, you guys. Okay,
The only other one note I had then is, as we talked about last week being National Correctional Officer Week, this week's National Police Week. So honoring our deputies there. Sheriff can say a lot more than I can, but many people don't know, we had a deputy that died in the line of duty way back in the 1800s.
yeah, 1867, Samuel S. Cronk was killed as a deputy here in Jackson County.
Never did that.
Uh,
I never did.
most people don't. It wasn't even passed down in the sheriff's office. So I mean, this was news to me. Probably would discovered it a year or so ago, maybe a couple of years ago. But anyway, so I put his information, the little bit I could find, I put his information into the National Police Officer Memorial. So he is being honored and being put on the wall this tomorrow at the Candlelight Vigil out there in DC. And they asked me to come to it because I don't know of any family members. He was an orphan when he was a kid. Grew up with the Whitley family, if I remember correctly, and then he joined the army, fought for the Union in the Civil War, came back and became a deputy, and then got killed somewhere between kind of in the Cottonville area. Kelly Gerlach just did an article on him last week, I think, in the paper. So anyway, I wanted to go to that. I just decided I just can't make it work. I'm too busy with too many other things, and I necessarily didn't want to go alone. But anyway, so I just bypassed it. So I feel kind of bad that I'm not going to be there, and that he probably doesn't even have a family member there going to honor him. But I'll be out in DC later, so I'll try to shade his name on a sheet of paper and hang it in our office or something. So, but a lot of people don't know that we actually had a deputy from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office get killed years ago in the line of duty. And Brenda's is from Bellevue, is the only other one I know, and I've been out there and visited his name on the wall too. So, but anyway, so yeah, National Law Enforcement Officer this week. So if you guys would run into one of our law enforcement officers, maybe just tell them how much you appreciate them and stuff this week, and they would.
Always do.
Yeah,
Exactly right. It's a hard job, much like teaching
Kind of
anymore.
like a
It's
thankless
becoming a more of a unappreciated or thankless job. And to go out and put your lives on the line every day the way they do is it's a pleasure to have them.
yeah. It's kind of an unwarranted, I would say, bad attitude towards law enforcement out in society, and I hope we're doing what we can to fix that, because we don't deserve that. Unfortunately, we have good officers locally, and we stay out of the national news, but one wrong incident could change that in a heartbeat. So our law enforcement officers are not bad people. They're just people trying to make a living and raise their families, same as everybody else. They bounce around on their shifts to make their job work and bend over backwards to support us in the sheriff's office. So we want to say how much we appreciate them.
And on the jail side too, our deputies are very, very helpful too. If we need, additional help, if it's night shift, we have our 3 people on, only 2 people to respond, and there's a major incident, they're always happy to come in and help. We had a huge booking group from Scott County here, I think early last month, like 15, 16 people. And we were also due to be meeting with Carroll County with a gal with a warrant that had some medical issues. We didn't have anything on her. It was in our best interest to get her moved on. So Deputy Schmidt came and she helped transport her down to meet Carroll County. So our deputies are very good about helping out in the jail when needed, and our correctional officers are also very happy and appreciative for what they do for us also.
We know we appreciate everything everybody in that department does, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know. You do anything for Police Officer Week, or a cake or something?
We haven't, I guess, sometimes we'll get a little food together at the back office or something like that, you know, for.
That's the biggest thing out to people,
Camaraderie.
to people out there that watch this, or whatever, just remember to thank a law enforcement officer, whether it be a city police, county police, you know, state trooper, or what, they're out there. A lot of times weather may or may not cooperate, may not, you know, they're missing family, missing friends, missing events to do this, so just give them a thank you on the way, it means a lot, you know, so.
And I agree with Brent, you do get they do get a bad rap. I've worked beside them for 32 years being in EMS. They've been on several calls. Our deputies are very good they try to get that unique bond going with some of these people. They try to work, you know, they're not out just to see how many people they can throw in jail in a
No,
month.
we don't
you
want
know.
people in jail.
Yeah. You know, so they do work with people and, you know, they do a great job as far as trying to de-escalate and
Yeah,
things like that, so.
kind of become street or road counselors, I guess.
Yes.
If you will, to try to lead people to how to do this better and how to avoid problems and stay out of jail, you know. Thankfully, we have a co-responder, in our area. She's overburdened, because she is
Everywhere.
yeah, everywhere, and she's got a lot on her plate too, and occasionally we gotta tune in her too and make sure she's doing all right, because she's trying to help everybody with their problems, but yeah, we have good people working for us here. Everybody, you get into this job because you want to help people. It may not seem like it when, like, the other day, I got passed by a young female, was doing well over the speed limit out here on the 4-lane. So I pulled her over and she was on her way to nursing school in Anamosa. And I said, "You're getting into nursing because you want to help people, right?" "Yeah." I said, "Or is it just for the pay?" "So no," she said she wanted to help people. And I said, "Well, by you driving like an idiot out here and weaving in between cars and going well over the speed limit, you very well could hurt someone. So isn't that counterintuitive to what you're trying to do? You know, you're trying to help people, but you're gonna cause an accident and hurt people." So
Hopefully
Yeah,
she
you're-
wasn't on her phone.
yeah. She got on her phone when I stopped her because she had to let her instructor know if she was gonna be late. But I said, "You'd have been on closer to being on time if I didn't stop you and we have to go through all this and I'm gonna write you a ticket." And so drive reasonable at least, you know, and, you know, think of others when you're out there driving like a ding dong. Oh, speaking of that, it's farm time in the fields. The red and orange triangle means 35 mph and under. That's why side by sides technically have to have them on also. Because when you see that sign or symbol, that piece
That's
of
your cue to
equipment,
start braking before
Yes.
you're on their tail.
that means that's supposed to be going 35 mph or slower. So that means, yeah, start slowing down and yielding. So you'll see side by sides out, maybe a little more this time of year because the farmers using them too, but farm equipment, big equipment that take up a lot of the roadway.
Mhm.
Maybe you're not always sure which way they're gonna go or turn. They're trying to watch out for you, but sometimes they got a lot going on too, so.
Yeah,
Drive
on
defensively.
that note, I don't know, I haven't listened to the ag report, but I think they're way ahead of schedule planning. I mean,
They're not, they've been sleeping.
there's a lot of plants in the ground,
Yeah,
so.
I see stuff starting to grow already, so, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Right.
Anything else?
Nope, just on that note, it's very dusty too with the lack of rain we've had lately, so gravel roads or whatever, just slow down, cause I've had some people I've known got hit head on in a dust cloud because they couldn't see what was coming at them and almost got killed, so just expect to meet something, so slow down and stay to your side and be very careful.
Exactly. Thank you very much,
Thank you
gentlemen.
guys. Thanks.
Last on the agenda is Lisa from the auditor's office.
Good morning. I need a motion to approve the May 5th, 2026 meeting minutes as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspapers.
I'll make that motion.
I would second.
Got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to approve the May 5th, 2026 meeting as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in official newspapers. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve and authorize the chair and auditor signatures on the contract with Cost Advisory Services LLC to provide professional consulting services to recoup federal monies for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027. This is something we do every year. They have a formula. We've worked really well with Jeff and the rest of his crew. And, I think they're willing to start here shortly.
So that's basically retrieving the money that's available to us.
And they, like I said,
Correct.
I read
Yep.
the report and it's
Yep.
detailed.
Yeah, we've used them for a long time. They do quite a few counties, in the state of Iowa.
So it does pay out for us. That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
I would make that motion.
I would second that.
Got a motion by Mike, second by Nan to approve and authorize chair and auditor signatures on a contract with Cost Advisory Services, Inc. to provide professional consulting services to recoup federal monies for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2027. Any other discussion?
One question, is it required that we have a contract with somebody?
I think that's probably, they're just kind of guaranteeing their work. I think I don't think it's required, but I think that's what they want. Yeah, there is another company that contacted me that wanted our work and I went, we're happy.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all that I have for the phone today.
Boards and commissions,
As far as I know, the transfer station's open.
transfer station, I'll talk about that tomorrow on the radio if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, I guess you could confirm with Frank, but he told me it'd be open Monday. He posted it on we have a meeting next Monday, but he said he posted it and everything's.
Again, he reassured me they're open Monday. It looked like there was activity there this morning and the trailer wasn't backed up to the other building, so I assume they're open.
Good news.
Excellent.
RTA meeting, I think, went pretty reasonable. We had, yeah, I mean, good discussion about the rest of the budget, next year's budget and, yeah, so. Running fairly smooth.
Again, people can reach out to them for rides. It's not just for handicap or disabled or
Yeah, no, I
elderly,
mean, you gotta use that service. It's available and it's out there.
you know.
I get, it almost seems like you should look at it not, it's like our version of a bus.
Uber.
An Uber type, an Uber kind of thing where you can just call them, get a ride, it's low cost. Just, it kind of got stereotyped there for a while and they're trying to shake that because literally anybody can use it. So
Yeah.
with gas prices pushing $4.50,
If you're planning, there's different times, different areas where you can catch the ride to Walmart or whatever, so, reach out to them, give them a call, talk to them.
Yeah, and they make longer trips too.
Yeah,
They-
I mean,
Yeah.
if you got doctor's appointments in Iowa City or Dubuque or. Some of them are scheduled times they go there, some of them they'll take just you there, So if you're needing rides or services. Definitely reach out, cause as we all know, locally here, we don't have the city buses or the taxi cabs, so these could be.
Yeah.
Some ways of
they're-
getting
They're
out
there, you should use them.
all right, anything else?
The annual tourism meeting wasn't on, but it's Thursday, we have annual. It's their annual meeting.
ECI, our executive committee, we've been meeting with, some local. I'm gonna say surrounding communities. We had the job posting out there, they did not get any applicants. So they're possibly looking at partnering with maybe one of the other local, whether it be like Cedar Jones or the Dubuque. And kind of combining services since a lot of them use the exact same. Companies or vendors to help service and this is for early childhood, so 5 and under. Those needing assistance with preschool, Head Starts, new babies, things like that, so. We're in the process of talking trying to find a good fit for us to do a partnership for a director. We would still keep our own budget on board, but kind of a shared director type of thing, which is kind of different things we're talking about in the county for can areas be shared. Well, this might be one that we're looking
Cool.
Yeah, there's always gonna be issue for hiring anymore. I mean, unemployment rates at 3.5% or something like that and. That's the fill them position sometimes.
Exactly.
at. And especially if it's not a definite full-time position,
Sure.
so
There's no further business. I make a motion, we adjourn.
I would second that.
Got a motion by Mike, second by Nan to adjourn. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I-
Opposed? Have a great day, everybody.